Why is AARP continuing to try to scare people about Social Security reductions for those born in 1960? I probably got 2 emails, if not more, about this. I guess it's in the bulletin, the AARP January, February bulletin about the Social Security hit for those born in 1960. It's regurgitated trite, man. So let's look at this. This is the email Sue has sent me. She's not the only one. You know, she cut off the thing. Born in 1960, prepare for a Social Security hit. It's the same regurgitated stuff that we've talked about 1,000 times on this channel. And if we can look, they're going to cite. I can't. Let's see if I can bring that up. I can't flip it over. They cite Stephen Goss, chief actuary, told Congress. All right, so we're going to get in that in just a second. But also with AARP, they also had the same thing back in November. Born in 1960, your Social Security retirement could take a hit. So why are they just redoing this again? It's nuts. Anyway, so again, if we look up, let's see if Stephen Goss is in here. The Social Security Administration adjusted, we talk about AWI, average wage index. I guess they don't cite social. Let's see. Let's look up Goss, see if we can't. Yeah, right there. Stephen Goss. Chief actuary told Social Security testified to Congress in July that the AWI rate could be reduced by 5.9% lower in 2020 than in 2019. Earlier estimates had predicted a 3.5% increase for the AWI. The upshot for retirees born in 1960 is Social Security benefits would be reduced by 9.1%. For life, a person with average wages who reached 62 in 2022 would get an initial monthly benefit of almost $200 a month less. All right, so what is, I can't see this whole thing, but it's going to be the exact same thing that you get a reduced benefit. All right, so I want to point something out here, man. Stephen Goss, chief actuary for Social Security, testified to Congress. When did he testify to Congress? Well, this is August 5th, 2020. Why some retirees could face reduced Social Security benefits unless Congress acts. Well, let's see. Let's look at old Stephen Goss. And we're going to go to read up Goss again right here. The AWI increased every year from 1951 to 2008. Said Stephen Goss at a recent congressional hearing. Do you know when that recent congressional hearing was? It was in July. All right. So let's just check. Hear me just a second. The 2009, the AWI increased or declined by the first time for 1.5%, prompted by the global financial crisis. That resulted in lower benefits those people became eligible to collect in 2011, though nothing was done to fix the issue. Wasn't a big decline. We've already done videos on that, but look, it sucked, but it wasn't $280, $189 a month, as what AARP is leading its members to believe. All right, it's likely that a much larger decline will happen in 2020. All right, and again, this year, for example, the AWI could be reduced by 5.9%, which would mean the median earner would lose about $119 a month. This is not just something hitting people who are 60, says Kotlikoff, who I like, who's a professor of economics at Boston University. And do you know who's the most esteemed economics undergrad from BU? AOC. You could be 20 and hit by this. That's everybody who's younger than now. All right. This is it right here. Because 2020 isn't over. The scope of the problem is still unknown. The average wage index for 2020 will not be confirmed until late 2021. Once the Social Security Administration received W-2s for all this year from the IRS and process them. Whatever it turns out, it will not have a real effect on benefits until we get into 2022. All right, so what does that mean? What Stephen Goss is talking about, hold on a second, was at the end of the second quarter, where we had, a 35% decline in GDP at the end of the second quarter. You know what happened? And then they were expecting a higher, not the same GDP decline, but they're expecting another GDP decline at the end of the third, with it beginning to level off by the end of Q4. You know what actually happened? We had it's a V-shaped recovery. We had a huge increase in the GDP at the end of Q3, followed by another big increase by Q4. All right, so when they gave that talk, this AARP has got to know this. They've got to know this. It's just a sales pitch to scare you, so you'll join AARP to advocate. Do not take my Social Security. Paul Ryan, Mitch McConnell, they're going to take my Social Security. Donald Trump, he's going to take my Social Security. You realize that neither Paul Ryan or Donald Trump are in government right now, right? You realize that they were in complete control in 2017 18, and no one's Social Security benefits were reduced. No one took their Medicare. It's the same stuff. Anyway, so if we look at when Stephen Goss made that testimony, it was at the end of Q2. And remember, at the latter part of Q2, the last 3 weeks of June of 2020, the GDP was already starting to take off again. All right, so basically, and the whole point was, if you looked at Q2 in the aggregate, which you had to, let me frank, I grant him that, the Q2 was down significantly, which is the exact time that Stephen Goss was doing the presentation. However, the last 3 weeks of Q2, the GDP was taking off. There wasn't going to be a decline in Q3, all right, which a lot of people were anticipating, another further decline in Q3. It didn't happen. It went the exact opposite. Did we actually end up recovering the entirety of the decline? It remains to be seen, but we're pretty doggone close, man. So we're looking at the worst case scenario, most likely. I mean, I don't know. I don't collect the payroll and stuff like that. But in terms of the overall GDP, it was a V-shaped recovery. Most likely, we're looking at a 2009 decline, or it was 2008, 2008, that effect. No, 2009. Yeah, that's right. That affected people in 2011. Most likely, we're looking at 2009. Certainly not what these guys are saying. So AARP, tighten up, man. I know you know what you're doing. I know you know you're doing this on purpose, and I know why is because this scare tactics is the best way to lobby people to get them to join your stupid cause. But this is it's insidious, whatever that word is, because you're basically leading people to fear when there need not be any. Look, I'm not saying just it's okay, but I am saying stop this. Because at the end of the day, there's a second part of the story which no one's talking about. Look, I've done videos on this before. I mean, I do so many videos, it'd be tough to find out. But it's saying the same thing, that when they gave this testimony, it was at the darkest days. It's kind of like saying, oh my goodness, on March 23rd or 22nd, 2020, oh my goodness, we're all going to go broke from stock market collapse. Everybody sell. It's like that was literally the bottom. March 9th of 2009. Oh my goodness, we're never going to make money in the stock market. Everybody sell. The same thing with this testimony from Stephen Goss. It's literally the worst day to do that because it was looking at Q2 only and not looking at Q3 or Q4. Even worse, though, he didn't look at what was happening. And you could have said, look, at the end of the day, the last 3 weeks of Q2 show some serious signs of growth. So we're not looking at a Q3 decline, which is what this whole silliness was contingent on. Don't fall for it. I will see you.